and welcome. My name is Erica, and I'm going to be leading today through a yin yoga practice. Yin yoga is a really beautiful style of practice. It can be a great complement to a more active style of yoga practice, or it can be a really great practice on its own. It's a nice complement to many of us having very busy lifestyles. So, before we get started, I do have a few props set up for myself today. I have a bolster. If you don't have a bolster, that's totally fine. A couple of pillows stacked on top of one another, a couch cushion. We're going to recline onto it. So you just want something that's not going to just like smush out flat when you lay back on it. And then I have another kind of smaller pillow, which could also just be like a folded over towel or blanket. And I'm going to have this on hand just in case I want something to sit up on or to close a gap anywhere. And then I have a block as well. And again, the block is kind of just to bring the floor up a little closer to my body. So anything that you can use around your house, it doesn't have to be like a yoga block. It could be a roll of paper towels, a can of beans, maybe not something that's super hard on the edges. Would be a little bit nicer if you put your face down on it, but finding something, again, that's just bringing the floor a little bit closer to you. I think like a canister of oatmeal has been a popular substitute for at home. So yin yoga, we are going to hold the poses a little bit longer or significantly longer than you would hold in like a typical vinyasa class or even in a hatha class. In yin, sometimes we'll hold poses like 7 to 10 and up minutes. Today, we're going to hold the poses about 3 to 4 minutes each. So nice entry level. And so rather than working on targeting the muscles like we're doing in like a really active yang practice, in yin, we are looking to address the connective tissues. So we're looking at the ligaments and the tendons, the bones, the fascia, which is basically a sheath that runs through the whole body, and there's different chains of fascia, and it's really interesting stuff. I'm not going to get into all of it, but feel free to do internet searches on it because it's really fascinating. So let's go ahead and get started. Coming into a comfortable seat, whatever that looks like for you today. That might be cross-legged, that might be kneeling, that might be sitting on your block or on your cushion. I have a little blanket here just to kind of make my space a little bit cozier. You don't really need a sticky mat to practice yin yoga. I'm kind of using the sticky mat to keep the blanket from sliding around on the floor. So coming into a comfortable position, we'll take a few moments to settle in. So if you're sitting cross-legged, you might take your hands to the flesh of your thighs, turn it out and down and back, kind of just creating a little more surface area to settle onto. If you feel like you're rounding forward, I would definitely recommend, encourage you to sit on a pillow or to double over a blanket just to kind of elevate your hips a little bit, help to tilt the pelvis back neutral versus rounding, which is really common. So I invite you to bring your left palm face up in your lap and your right hand to rest inside of that. So both palms are face up, and then you can bring your thumb tips to touch. And then just allow the elbows to bend. We'll be bringing the upper arm in line with the torso. Allow the shoulders to soften down and back and begin to soften the gaze, allowing the eyes to become unfocused. If it feels good for you to close down your eyes, definitely invite you to do so here. And invite you to notice what's present in your physical body today in this moment. Any sensations? And then I invite you to notice what's present in your breath today in this moment. So non-judgmental awareness of the breath, just observation. Noticing what the breath feels like. Maybe you notice where in your body you most readily feel the breath. Maybe that's your nose, your throat, chest, ribs, belly. Combination of or none of the above. Taking a moment to tune in there. Maybe noticing if your breath feels full and nourishing, the inhales and the exhales, or does it feel like it's getting caught anywhere, like it's stopping short? And just noticing. Noticing if the breath has a texture. Does it feel smooth or does it feel rough? You feel a difference in the temperature as you inhale and exhale. And then I invite you to notice where your mind is. What's present in your mind this morning or in this moment. Noticing if your mind is really present or if it is dragging off somewhere, thinking about something that has already happened, thinking about something that might possibly happen in the future, but thinking about multiple things at once. And this is totally normal. It's what minds do, yeah? But we can invite the mind back into the present moment by way of the breath. Focus on the breath. And by way of focusing on sensations in the body. So Yin Yoga really invites us to move within as we practice. Each posture has the opportunity to be like a mini meditation. So as we practice, when the mind starts to wander, I invite you to gently acknowledge that and then invite it back in through breath and or body sensation. Let's take a deep breath in through the nose, belly soft, make it full, and exhale through the mouth. Your eyes are closed. I invite you to begin to flutter them back open, keeping the gaze soft still. Releasing the hand gesture, the mudra. And before we move into our first posture, we'll take a little bit of movement. So bringing the hands behind and the feet out. Let's bring the feet out about as wide as mat's width, or if you're not using a mat, about 1.5 feet, maybe a little wider than your hips. And we'll just take some gentle rocking movement here, side to side with the knees. So rolling on the foot, rolling to the edge of the foot, knees go to the right, back through the center, edge of the feet, the knees go to the left. And just moving back and forth using your arms as support. And it's okay if your hips come up off the floor a little bit. We're really looking to just get a little bit of movement into the hip joint here, kind of get some of the synovial fluid moving. And we're really not trying to like warm up the muscles in yin, right? We want the muscles to relax and soften so that we can access the deeper tissues and come back to center. But at the same time, we don't want everything to be like cold and like pulling and tight, right? Like fascia, those muscles, because then the same thing, it can kind of help, or it can prevent us from being able to access that. So for this, we'll go ahead and keep the feet out about where they are with the knees bent, and then bring the feet in towards one another. So the soles of the feet. So you make a nice kind of diamond shape here. So we're going to move into butterfly as our first posture. And this isn't like the yang version where we have the feet really drawn in close, right? We have it nicely out to the side so that the legs can kind of fall out to the side. And again, if you're finding it difficult to sit up straight, if you're kind of rounding, you can double over your blanket or take a block or a cushion and set it under your seat to help you to find a neutrally tilted pelvis. And from here, just noticing, softening the tension in the thigh muscles, allowing the knees to just fall, the natural weight to pull out away from one another. And we'll begin to round forward, bringing the forehead down in between the legs. So again, with yang, a lot of times will be like a really straight spine and forward fold hinging. This is totally different. We're going to go ahead and allow the back to round. And what this does is accesses some of the meridians, which is another thing that we work with in Yin Yoga, through the back body. And it also takes muscular effort out of it, right? So your hands can be inside your legs on your hands, or sorry, on your feet, or they can be outside. You might take your block and place it underneath your head if it's really uncomfortable for you to sit with your head just hanging. But I invite you to go ahead and try it first with the head hanging, because the weight of the head kind of helps to traction everything. Yin's a little bit different than restorative in that respect, that we're not using the props to necessarily make ourselves more comfortable or to make it more of like a relaxing pose. There's still effort happening. And it can be an opportunity to sit with a little bit of discomfort and see if we can move through it. And as you find your edge here, invite you to, like the deepest expression you can do, invite you to take a little step back from that. So rather than trying to do like the deepest expression of the pose that you can do, take a little step back, and then it becomes sustainable. It's a place you can hang out for a little while. And we'll be here for about 2 more minutes. So yeah, finding that place. And then settling in. So bringing awareness into the body sensations, maybe noticing where in your body you're holding muscular tension. Every exhale, can you invite that to soften? Invite the muscles to release. They don't need to work right now. Just here on the floor. As you inhale, you can feel yourself being full of prana and oxygen and nutrients from the air. And as you exhale, feel the body settle just a little deeper, a little softer, a little heavier. A few more rounds of breath here. Noticing if there's anywhere you can invite to release. And then as you're ready, I invite you to take an inhale through the nose and sigh it out the mouth. And slowly begin to walk yourself back up to upright. We're going to go really slow and gentle. There's no rush. Head can be the last thing to come back up. Taking the hands to the outsides of the knees, gently pressing the knees together or picking them up, helping them come back towards one another. And then we'll go ahead, take a moment to kind of feel the after effect, feel the sensation of sitting upright again. And then we'll come into our second pose, which is shoelace pose. So we'll do this on one side and then the other. There's a couple of different ways to access shoelace pose. So from here, you might take your left leg, and pull it underneath your right knee, bring the foot around to your right hip. So I'm going to turn so that you can see from the front. Right, so my left foot is by my right hip, sticking out. And then I'm going to take my right foot over to my left. So my knees stack and I'm sitting between my feet on the ground. The other way to get into this pose is to come to all fours, take the left knee towards the midline, and then step the right leg around, take the feet out to the side, and then sit back. So option here, if you're like, this isn't really working, you can sit on your block. right? So that gives you a little elevation. It gives you a little more space. You could also sit on your pillow or your rolled up blanket. The other thing, if you have a lot of space between your knees here, you can stick that little pillow or again the blanket in between to kind of take some of the tension out, if you feel that that is necessary. And yeah, like I said, we'll do this side and then the other. I feel like there was something else that I wanted to tell you, but we'll settle in here on this side. So for this pose, if you'd like to take a Apana Mudra, that is a specific hand gesture that kind of helps to activate the downward flow of energy in the body, and it can kind of help us to settle in. So to do this, you just bring your hands into loose fists. Take the thumb over the middle and third finger, and then the little finger and the index finger, pointer finger come out like this, right? And then you just rest this down on the floor if it's more comfortable on your lap. And again, softening the gaze, closing down the eyes. We'll be in this pose for about 3 minutes. So once again, maybe checking in with where there's physical tension being held in the body. Maybe that's the right hip or the right thigh. As you exhale, can you invite those muscles to release, soften? Finding minimal effort in staying upright. Just imagining the spine stacked vertebra on vertebra, supported. You holding tension in your shoulders, can you allow them to melt down the back, away from the ears? You soften your jaw, soften your eyes. And then perhaps bringing awareness to the breath, feeling it move in and out. And noticing where in your body you feel the breath. A few more rounds of breath here. And as you're ready, I invite you to take an inhale through the nose, inside out the mouth. Gently releasing the mudra. Lean back on your hands and begin to take the legs out straight. And maybe just shifting a little bit side to side here, bending and flexing and pointing the toes rather, kind of opening up the ankles a little bit. Just a little bit of counter movement from having everything folded in on itself. Maybe a little circles with the ankle. And then we'll come on to the other side. So it'll be the left leg on top this time. So again, either coming to all fours and tucking your left leg over your right, or drawing the right leg under and the left leg over. Settling in, propping yourself as needed. And invite you right off the bat to recognize if this side feels different or how this side feels different from the first. We don't use our bodies symmetrically, and so often when we begin stretching, especially deeper stretching of the bodies, you can notice where all that asymmetry is. It's one of the really lovely practices, really lovely benefits of the practice is being able to bring some equilibrium and some equity back into the body. So once again, if you'd like to take the mudra, the hand gesture, ring finger, middle finger in, pointer finger, little finger out, resting down on the floor or on your lap as it feels comfortable for you, softening your gaze, closing down the eyes, settling in. And again, we'll be here on this side for 3 minutes as well. And give you an opportunity to really go within, finding your own breath, finding your own internal happenings, so your own internal stillness. So I don't want to talk the whole time. So inviting the body to release and soften, grow heavier with every exhale. Finding stillness, quiet. Wanders off, gently acknowledging and just guiding it back to the breath, to the body, to the moment. As you're ready, taking an inhale through the nose, sighing out the mouth. Slowly, slowly releasing the gesture if you've taken it, leaning back, unfurling the legs out straight. And again, you might kind of gently walk your knees back and forth a little. Maybe windshield wiper, just the feet rolling the leg back and forth. Take whatever organic movement happens for you. It just feels like a nice counter to having the legs tucked underneath. Maybe you lift the heart up to the ceiling a little bit. And then we're going to grab the bolster, pillows, and we're coming to a supine saddle pose, a reclined saddle pose. So, taking the bolster or pillows behind you, a couple of different modifications. So, for this pose, saddle pose, you're going to bring your feet out towards, so you can start by bringing your feet behind you and sitting back onto your heels. This is a nice stretch into the front part of the foot, or the top of the foot, the front of the ankle, the calf, or the shin, like the front of the calf. And then from here, you can lay back. This can be quite intense. You can also take your feet a little bit further apart and sit down between your feet, and then lean back from here. Okay? Both of those options don't feel good for you. You can take the block or whatever you're using and prop it underneath of your bolster or your pillows to make the recline not as intense. So you can see the front of my body still is folded here a little bit as opposed to being stretched open. So finding what works for you and taking a moment and try something, and then if you're like, this doesn't feel right, actually change it. Make it so that it feels, again, so it's sustainable. And it might be a little bit uncomfortable, right? There's a difference between something that's uncomfortable and something that's painful. Practicing yoga, particularly things like yin yoga where we're holding, kind of gives us an opportunity, as I mentioned before, to kind of sit with discomfort, to breathe through it, to realize that there is a beginning, middle, and end to it, and it's not going to last forever. So finding your variation and settling in. So once you are laying back, wherever you're going to lay back, you can take your arms out to the side in a T shape with the palms face up. You could take them in like a cactus arm if that feels good for you, kind of depending on where your bolster is or how high your pillows are. For me, that's a little far because my arms are not touching the floor. You can take the arms up overhead and clasp opposite elbows. This is kind of my go-to. And this, again, then is going to access the meridians that run through the arms and the shoulders. So the heart and the lung and small intestine. So that's something in yin yoga that we also work with, is the energy meridians tied into a lot of traditional Chinese medicine. So just like with acupressure, acupuncture points, how they lay on a meridian. And in yoga, I refer to them as nadis, as the energy channels. And in Western medicine, when you look at a map of the nervous system and the circulatory system, it actually all kind of lines up. So it's really kind of interesting to look at how it all comes together from different perspectives. So once again, settling in here. I'm going to be quiet so you can find your inner solitude. I invite you to do a scan through the body. Notice where you're holding tension. Eyes closed. Allow the knees to be heavy, the legs to be heavy, the feet to be heavy, the pelvis is heavy, the back is heavy, the head is heavy, the arms are heavy. So allow everything to sink and be held and supported by your props and by the earth. We'll be here for about 4 minutes total. If you have your arms clasped above your head, I invite you to switch out the cross of your arms. About halfway through the hold, so any adjustments you need to make. Maybe noticing where in your body you feel your breath. Where in your body you feel some opening happening. Where in your body you might feel some release. Again, allowing bones to be heavy. Allowing everything to settle. Couple more rounds of breath here. When you're ready, inhaling through the nose, sighing out the mouth. Releasing the hands, if you have them overhead, slowly bringing them back down. Very gently walking the elbows underneath. Bring yourself back to upright. We'll move the bolster or pillows out of the way to the side. Come to laying on the belly. Stretched out flat, stacking. Bring the elbows out to the side, stacking hand on top of hand. Resting the forehead down and maybe just rocking the hips a little side to side here. And from here, we'll roll onto the right side, propping the head in with the right hand, stacking the hips. Left hand is down in front for balance. Let's bend the left knee and bring it forward at a 90-degree angle, and then we'll bend the right foot and reach around with the left hand for the right foot. It's moving into a cat pulling its tail, and we'll just stay here briefly. You can keep your head propped up, or you can lay your head down on the floor, working towards moving that left shoulder towards the floor. A couple big full breaths here. This is a really nice twist, a nice stretch into the diaphragm. And then gently releasing that right foot if you've clasped it without slingshotting it, and just allowing it to come back down straight. Rolling back through center, and then rolling over to the left side. Stacking the hips, bending the right knee, this time bringing it forward, bending the left knee to bring it back. We'll do it from the other side so you can see what it looks like. And then reaching around with the right arm for the left foot. And you can stay propped up on your hand, or you can bring your head down, bring the right shoulder towards the floor. Maybe the gaze comes back out over the right shoulder. A few deep breaths here. Maybe seeing if you can find length in the torso even as you twist. From here, releasing that left foot, this time again not slingshotting it, very gently, controlled, straightening it out, and then rolling onto your back, coming into Shavasana. So Shavasana, corpse pose, final resting pose of the practice. You might put a blanket over top of yourself. You might put on socks. You might do something just to make yourself 10% more comfortable if you can. We'll bring the hands down to rest beside the body, or keeping them on the body if that's comfortable for you. If it's not comfortable for you for whatever reason to lay on your back, by all means, please lay on your side, your stomach. Find a place where you can just really relax and feel resting so that you're able to absorb the benefit of the practice. And if this hurts the low back, you can put something underneath of your knees. Make yourself comfy. Palms might face up, a little more receptive. You want to be a little bit more grounded. You can place the palms face down. Before we drift off, I invite you again to notice where or what is present in your physical body in this moment. Notice what's present in your breath. Notice what's present in your mind. And then letting all of that go, releasing Shavasana. Please stay resting in Shavasana as long as you'd like. Whenever you're ready to come out, begin by deepening your breath. Taking some organic movements, maybe wiggling fingers and toes, rolling to one side, and then making your way back up to seated. Bringing palms to touch in front of the heart center, gently pressing the thumbs into the sternum, lifting the sternum into the heart. Gently bow the mind to the heart. A moment of thanks. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today. It is a pleasure and an honor. The divine in me recognizes and honors the divine in each of you. Thank you so much. Take care.